the different plants that are growing under there. Let me introduce to you kind of the superstar of the taprooted plants. Some of you will think of it otherwise. But there's a medicinal herb called Comfrey. And Comfrey gets to be about 3.5 feet tall. And it comes into flower right after the apples bloom. So that's an important principle in terms of wild pollinators. You have to keep something in bloom at all the different seasons. Comfrey is what I call a living mulch plant. So Comfrey blooms and would be starting seed. I want to explain that part. But when the plant enters that point of setting seed, it gets top heavy and tends to fall over. So that oak crop that I was describing earlier, we call that lodging. It gets heavier, it falls over. Comfrey, those stalks are still connected to the roots, maintains its green. I don't mow, I don't side the comfrey under the fruit trees. I let it naturally fall over, which suppresses the growth of other plants right around it. Yes. So that's what I meant about cruise control. Now, the seed part. If you're thinking, well, I know, before I even do the seed part, we have to do the disclaimer. I'm telling you about the virtues of comfrey, and if you decide to do it, you probably will never be able to get rid of the comfrey. And I'm being very upfront about that. It's a very deep-rooted plant, and it's persistent. Now you know that. The seed part, if you bought comfrey in the form of a packet of seeds, you've made a big mistake, because that is Xiphitum officinalis, which is a fertile plant. And where I have said one of the goals is outrageous diversity, you will have just comfrey growing on your farm. I've been to a farm in Quebec, 5 acres of just comfrey with pear trees and apple trees coming up through it. It's okay, but it's not quite the diverse scene that I want to see. Back in the 40s, 50s, I believe, somebody crossed the European comfrey with the Russian comfrey, and they produced what are called the Bocking cultivars. And Bocking, B-O-C-K-I-N-G, these are comfrey plants that do not set viable seed. So that's what you want in the orchard. That's what you want on your farm. If it was a seeded plant, I would mow it because I wouldn't want the seed to mature. And the Bocking cultivars, they spread somewhat. If you dig them and disturb the root systems, they spread quite a lot. Remember that a bigger tree gets to have more shade. So they don't really reach in so much as they want to reach out into the sun. And between mowing or not mowing, I kind of can keep them, I do like to wave my hands. I can keep them more or less in that fungal duff drip line zone where I plant them. This is not something where I plant a fruit tree and that year go put a comfrey root 1 foot away from it. I don't want a big competitive plant right next to the trunk. I want the trunk more airy. This is something where I usually put the comfrey roots around a freestanding bigger tree, year 3, 4, or 5, and I'm putting them out more in the anticipated drip line of the tree. And it might be that 4 spots around the tree become more of that ring that I want to see at some point. Another thing about, so you're also going to hear how I use comfrey as a, in permaculture we have this term called dynamic accumulators, and the idea is that a broad reaching plant, maybe it's going deep, maybe it's just reaching broad, it's bringing nutrients from afar into its leaves and stalks that fall over and decompose and accumulate nutrients. Comfrey is really good at bringing calcium up to the surface of the soil into that humus zone where a lot of the fungi and feeder roots are going to be working. So I also use comfrey in my herbal teas that I'm going to apply for nutrition, which is self-generated from on the farm. One of the things we're going to learn also is we want to give up the idea that we make everything really, really neat in the fall. If you have German heritage, you have to appreciate this. I say that because I do. By leaving things wild and rugged and woolly, things, rattanid wasps and other beneficials, you have to think about where do they overwinter. And they often are in the stalks of plants like comfrey or your mints or your lemon balm. And by leaving those plants be and cleaning up in the spring, you provide a chance for more beneficials to overwinter. We gather in dried comfrey for human medicine, but also I feed it to our chickens because of that calcium connection, and they love it. So this is this plant. There are nitrogen fixers, things like Siberian pea shrub, gooseberry. When you grow more of these shrubby plants in your orchard, they form a relationship with rhizobacter, and so they're making nitrogen happen around your tree. This lends itself to more of a permaculture, polyculture approach. But the way you work with this is you don't necessarily grow those shrubs so they compete with your tree, but you coppice them every few years. And those prunings can be put in the fungal duff zone. They don't have to be chipped. We call that chop and drop in permaculture. I don't have a good picture of that because this is Comfrey and I don't cut Comfrey. But that's a way to introduce woodsy shrubs that fix nitrogen to help build a weaker soil right in by.